engineering manager for that site, and my main duty was bringing in production lines from all over other factories. And so I worked a lot with your dad, also Lai Kang, Mr. Kang.
Yeah.
When also, quality and it was all the managers as far as bringing things in. And so the team was really, I really enjoyed working with them. They were all very outgoing, they really wanted to succeed. And, I started going to Vietnam maybe 10 years ago. Well, the factory just turned 10, so I guess it was a little longer than that, probably 11 years ago. And so the economy was really improving in Vietnam during that time, and it was amazing the difference between when I started going there and when I stopped going there, the difference. But, everybody was very enthusiastic because they were excited about working for sort of an American company. It's really an Italian company, but it was being set up by Americans. I didn't have any, I felt like our attitudes and the way we thought about things were between Vietnamese and Americans were very similar. I'd done factory startups in Brazil and other places in Asia, and it seemed like the Vietnamese were the most in sync with what our way of thinking.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So your dad was, he was really easy to get along with. I always wanted, I wish I could speak Vietnamese, and I'm horrible at it, but it was always interesting seeing these meetings where I couldn't understand anything they were saying, it would have been interesting to understand what they were saying, because I was imagining what was going on or what they were saying, but I really had no clue. And sometimes I got kind of heated, and I didn't know what anybody was saying, so it was a little weird. You're sitting there or standing there, and you can't. It's getting heated, but you're not sure why they're mad or what the problem is.
So, did they provide you a translator, or you have no idea what's going on the whole time?
Well, the managers, in a normal meeting, they would speak English, but sometimes when it got technical, or they, I felt like sometimes they maybe didn't want the American manager to know what they were saying.
That's interesting. That's interesting, because I didn't hear this from Brad and Christian and Fabio.
Well, okay. Yeah, just sometimes they'd go into Vietnamese. I couldn't understand what they were saying, so it was just it would have been interesting. They might have been saying, "Well, that's a stupid idea. I can't believe this guy wants to do that." So maybe that's why they flipped language on me. But yeah, there were. So you've already talked to those other guys.
Yeah, I did talk to Christian Finati, Brad West, and Fabio.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did talk to the three other guys. And I didn't remember they were mentioning anything about the... they did mention about how the cultures was significantly different. So that was kind of like a small barrier, especially with the lower management team. But
there were things like, I know that when I started going there, they wanted to save energy all the time, which is great, but... I battled for quite a while that they had turned the air conditioning off in the factory at night, and that would cause condensation on our tools, and all our tools were rusting. The ones that had steel. So it took quite a while to get past the saving energy part, and because and keeping our tools in better shape.
Yeah.
So now they keep the factory air conditioning on.
Yeah. Whose idea was it to turn off the AC at night? Was it a Vietnamese?
Vietnamese. Yeah. It's really common there to turn off air conditioning when you leave your house, and they were doing that in the factory. It was causing a lot of problems. I don't know. I thought the culture definitely was different, but I thought at least the way I didn't have a lot of problems working with them. I have more problems working with the Italians. So,
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, because I kind of like lost connection with you for a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it got quiet. I wasn't sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was interesting because I didn't know about that problem that they will switch the language in front of you to communicate without your knowledge. Don't you think it was a problem?
Yeah. Well, sometimes it would happen a lot just in front of the engineers because the engineers, their English wasn't as good as the managers. So I mostly worked with, I was lower down in the organization than Brad or Christian. So I was working more directly with the engineers, and their English wasn't as good. There were some guys in my group who couldn't speak any English, so Kang would have to switch languages to be able to talk to them, and so Kang was my main translator. So I guess it is a bit different just being at a different level in the organization. I was asked to try to bring up the skills of the engineering group there. And so there's 13 guys that I was managing, and I'd say, well, there's 4 or 5 that couldn't speak any English. And so some of it, what I'm talking about too, I'd sit in on the morning meetings, which they would have in the engineering area. And, the majority of that was in Vietnamese because there's a lot of people from across the organization.
Yeah.
The varying abilities in English. And, Brad mostly worked with upper managers who all spoke English. So I guess that would explain some of the differences.
Okay, so the language barrier was definitely a thing.
Yeah,
but
one thing I noticed is kind of funny is Americans have a lot of slang. They'll say stuff like "play it by ear," or we have so many things, I can't think of any right now, but we just say things that mean something that doesn't translate well. So I noticed, when I was having meetings with the engineers, I had to watch that I didn't say any of those things because those can, if we were having a design review and I said something that they would want an explanation of what I meant, and by the time I got done explaining it, we had lost track of what we were doing.
Yeah, so, I figured it could happen.
Yeah. So, one thing I did notice, I had a lot of problems finding good mechanical engineers over there. We interviewed quite a few, and it was much easier to find electrical engineers and software. That I don't know if it's a more, in the U.S. it's kind of an opposite of that. I think mechanical, you can see things. So at least for me, maybe it's just because I'm a mechanical engineer that it seems easier because you can actually see the parts and touch them than it would be for electrical. But we had a lot of problems finding good mechanical engineers. We had quite a few good electrical and software guys, and once again, that's a little further down the organization.
Yeah. Excuse me, but what position did you hold when you were an expat working for Datalogix?
Well, I was an engineering manager, but Kang and I kind of held a dual role, I think. I was the American engineering manager. Kang was the Vietnamese engineering manager. We were never quite clear exactly where it parted ways, but we worked together quite a bit, and he was my translator, and he, like I said, there are some guys I couldn't talk to because they didn't speak any English.
Yeah. Do you think it was a problem that Kang and you have the same role, but because you didn't speak a local language, you were kind of like, have to stay behind for a little bit, and everything has to go through Kang before it goes to you, even though you guys share the same position?
No, it wasn't. I think, some things got lost in translation or weren't communicated completely. So, I think that was a problem. And if it wasn't, it would have been really tough if it had just been me and no Kang, because there'd be people I'd have to work through engineers to translate to the engineers that don't speak English. It was challenging just because of the language barrier.
Was there any conflict between you and King?
No, no, we got along really well. I thought that he was a great guy, and he was very supportive.
Yeah. Oh, did you know that his family, well, technically his sister opened an ice cream shop near my hometown.
Uh-huh.
It's like 2 miles away from my home, and he's making Italian gelato, and he's selling it like homemade gelato to the people. Yeah.
Oh.
And he actually had to stay up almost every night until like 1 a.m. making ice cream for the next batch for the next day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he opened on, I think it was the first day of January.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. No, I haven't talked to him. I haven't talked to him since I left Logic, which has been a couple of years now.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, that's I don't know what else you want. I'm not sure if this helped or not, but yeah, I think the differences we found are just because of my level. I was a lot lower down than Brad.
No, it's actually interesting because because your management level was lower down. It was kind of like more down to earth,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So I was hoping that is there any like problem, any other things besides the language barrier, or any particular example that you could think of that was created due to you being an expat in that kind of like level?
Yeah.
Maybe a story could help.
Well, I don't know if this relates or not, but I was asked by the new products, one of the new products guys, to help with an interview of a Vietnamese mechanical engineer. And so I was in the meeting, and I said, well, does the guy speak English? And so, yeah, he does. And so we're in the interview, and I asked him a question, and he didn't understand what I said. So I said it again, a little slower, and tried to be clearer, and he still didn't understand. So the Vietnamese engineer said, oh, it's okay, I will take it from here. So he asked the guy my question in English, and the guy understood his English, but he couldn't understand mine. And it was just funny, because I thought you were going to go into Vietnamese mode or something, but you told him the exact same question in the same words, and he understood you, but he wouldn't understand me. So that was just kind of a funny thing with the language problem, because I was told quite a few times that my English was hard to understand because of my accent.
You don't have an accent. Yeah, it's just
I didn't think so.
I didn't think so
either. I didn't think so either, but that's what I was told. So I even had some Christian's wife actually told me one time that my English was not very good.
Christian English is worse than yours because he's Italian and he's got a very thick accent.
Yeah, well, no, she said, your English is not very good. And I said, well, I'm really in trouble then, because that's the only language I speak.
Oh, that's funny.
I think the biggest barrier was I got a complex over there, because after she told me that, I decided that I'd work on my pronunciation in English better, because I knew I was never going to learn Vietnamese, but if my English was bad, I figured I should improve that. So I tried to work on my pronunciations.
I didn't think you have a problem. When I was 14 or something, and I still understand you every single word by word. I even understand all the slang that you're saying.
Yeah, well, your English is very good. So, but well, I hope are there any other questions? I've got to get going pretty soon.
Oh, if you have to get going very soon, then you know what? If you have any like other stories about the problems you have working in Vietnam, can you send me an email about it? It doesn't need to be about language. It can be about anything. Like seriously, if you have any like problem working with my dad, if you have any problem working with your lower management team, any kind of conflict that you think is maybe culturally, it can also be not culturally related. It can be any problem that could that happened because you were American and they're Vietnamese.
Yeah.
Or even or even something like that.
Yeah, let me think about it and see if I come up with any good stories. I'll send you an email.
Yeah, please.
But so when's your assignment due?
Well, it would be best if you can send me the stuff in about 1 week or 2 weeks. Yeah. Because I need to write the assignment approximately before middle of March, because the final deadline is beginning of April. So I need to get it done before March or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Just that.
All right.
After that, I guess that's it.
So I'm trying to think here. So, well, one thing that is very culturally different is that Vietnamese don't mind getting really close to each other. Like
that one.
You know how on the production lines, they had some production lines that were 35 square meters total with all the equipment in there and 12 people. You know, and that would not work in the U.S. People would kill each other. We like our space a little bit more, you know. But everybody, I thought that was, it was fun to watch the people because they would touch each other and you could see the people were, comfortable with each other and they were comfortable with their personal space wasn't as big as what it is in the U.S. I had to go there. One time I was supposed to be setting up a factory in Hungary, and they wanted to duplicate as much as possible from the Vietnam factory.
Yeah,
including the production lines. And,
that couldn't work. That couldn't work.
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't get around to that factory. Ended up an Italian guy set that up, but and I was trying to figure out the square footage that we'd need in this new factory that hadn't been built yet. I said, well, I don't think that Europeans are bigger, and I think they're more like Americans. They like their personal space, and I don't think we can pack them into 35 square meters. So we actually was supersizing the lines to. I took the square footage and added like 50%, and even that I thought was going to be too small. But they were trying to squeeze in as much as they could into the factory space.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that is quite a bit different. That and I don't know if maybe it's because there's so many people. It's so crowded in Ho Chi Minh that maybe people are just used to bumping into each other and touching each other, or it seemed like it was more cultural than situational. That they just they like each other more than Americans like each other. So anyhow, okay. Well, if I think of any stories, I'll send you an email.
Yeah, please. That'd be nice.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks. It was good talking to you. Sorry it took a little while to get connected, but I guess I'm hooked up now at work that we can talk a little easier.
Yeah, thanks. So, okay. Yeah, have a nice day.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Goodbye. Okay. Yeah, mới phỏng vấn xong. Hy vọng em ngủ ngon. Tối nay chắc anh thức khuya làm việc chút xíu. Anh muốn viết list review chút xíu để coi tới đâu. By the way, em mặc quần áo size bao nhiêu để mà anh biết anh mua một số thứ cho em nè. Tại Valentine này anh không có đây, thành ra anh nghĩ có gì đó để bù cho em cũng tốt. Thế nhá, gửi cho anh size quần áo, còn không là anh lấy quần áo của em ra anh coi đấy, đừng có trách.